Hello, I'm Paul A. Lentz, and I'll be sharing today what I've learned about the apple maggot, or known by the Latin name Ragoletis pulmonella. This is a major pest for apple orchards and other fruits across North America. Ragoletis pulmonella is in the order Diptera. They're a true fly. The adults are pretty small. They're about half a centimeter. They have a black body with white bands across the abdomen and white zigzags on their wings. They feed by sponging mouth parts as an adult, and they eat mostly, liquids from fruits or other things. The larvae, however, are what eat apples and leave the holes in them. So here is a picture of the adult stage, and here is a picture of the damage that they cause on apples. I'm sure you've seen it before if you've ever got a bad apple. The apple maggots undergo complete metamorphosis. They're homometabolists. Their life cycle has 4 stages: eggs, larvae, pupa, and adults. The females themselves don't cause a lot of damage to the fruit. It's the larvae that actually cause most of the damage. The females lay their egg beneath the skin of the apple, and as they hatch and grow, they eat the apple. They make it unedible. As they complete their life cycle, the larvae exit the apple and they go to the ground, and they pupate in the soil for the next year when they emerge, and the cycle continues. The adults emerge in June to August, right around the time apples are getting ready for harvest or pretty close to it. There's typically, at least in Missouri, only one generation a year. I'm sure in tropical areas there could probably be 2 or maybe 3. As I said already, the maggot larvae is the damaging stage. Whenever they're in the fruit, as you saw in the pictures, they tunnel through the fruit. They make it inedible. They leave the brown trails, or if you're unlucky, you bite into it and there's still a worm maggot in there. It's mainly economical damage. It's not if you're just growing an apple tree in your yard to look at it, it's not a huge issue looks wise, but it's for the commercial growers is where most of the issue comes in. A big issue would be also sometimes in the storage facility. Sometimes if they pick them, the flies can go into there and make most of the crop unsellable. There's a pretty interesting way that people scout for them. They put out these red traps, and it has apple scent, or what I found, it's called ammonium acetate, and this attracts the adults, the flies in there. That's what they're looking at. They aren't looking at maggots in there, and they can see the presence of the adults in those traps. Another way that people scout is they actually look at the fruits and see if they have the puncture wounds from the adult, or the actual tunnels and larvae in there. The ways to control them, there's a few that you won't have to use chemicals ideally. The first is to actually just remove the dropped fruit. That's where sometimes the flies will lay their larvae in it, and they'll complete the cycle. So if you go to a bunch of orchards, a lot of the time they just leave the dropped fruit. That's not great. That's an area that's a host for these insects. Also, if you see fruits that have the damage, take them off. And physical barriers, you can put the netting around the trees to keep the flies from actually landing on the fruit and laying the egg. As for the chemical controls, if it's if you see in the traps that you need to add pesticides, the main ones are spinosad and valerate. And you time that based on whenever you're starting to capture them in the traps and the fruit are developing. Something interesting about the apple maggot is that they are native to North America. Apples aren't, so they initially didn't feed or evolve to feed on apples. They fed on the hawthorn, which has a fruit that looks a lot like a rose hip. So they're both in the same family, Rosaceae, but they've evolved to eat apples. They're not only found on apples, though. I've seen on, I think it was, University of Minnesota, they can eat on plums, blueberries, peaches, all of those. So they can be a pest for more than apple orchards, but that's where you'll most commonly encounter them. As I said, citations, it was University of Minnesota's Extension, Missouri Botanical Garden, and Cornell's Integrated Pest Management. Thank you.